Spruce has been arrested twice now for silently praying outside of an abortion business in Birmingham, England.
Well, earlier this month, she was praying silently outside an abortion clinic in Birmingham. She wasn't yelling or carrying a sign or blocking the doorway or doing anything disruptive. She was just praying. Praying. Not to the government, to God.
And UK pro-life advocate Isabel Vaughan Spruce has been arrested twice now for silently praying outside of an abortion business in Birmingham, England. Authorities say Vaughan Spruce was praying in a zone where you are not allowed to express your views about abortion. All charges related to Vaughan Spruce's first arrest have been dropped, but on March 7th, she was arrested again. The same day, British Parliament voted to criminalize all forms of influence near abortion facilities in England and Wales. Spruce now faces new charges. Isabel Vaughan Spruce joins us now, and she is also joined by her lawyer, Lorcan Price, Irish barrister and legal counsel for the Alliance Defending Freedom, United Kingdom. Isabel, thank you so much for joining me. Talk to me about this second time that you were arrested. Can you explain what information you were given that assured you that you were within your legal rights to go back out and pray in front of this clinic?
Yeah, thank you. So as you explained, I'd already been acquitted of any offence when I was arrested last year. And I was told then that I was completely acquitted, even though I'd been arrested and accused of protesting and engaging in an act which was intimidating service users. And actually at that time, the abortion centre was closed, so I couldn't possibly have been intimidating anybody. And I'd spoken to nobody and said nothing.
Interesting.
So when I was completely acquitted of that, I then went and did exactly the same thing again, i.e. I went and prayed silently in my head outside the abortion centre at exactly the same spot that I'd been praying in before. And I was arrested by 6 police officers who came with a police van to take me away to the police station. And I was told that my prayers were an offence. And when I reminded the police officer that I was silently praying, he just repeated even more emphatically that it was still an offence, even though I was just silently praying in my head.
Unbelievable. And Lorcan, I want to turn to you. Does Parliament's recent vote to criminalize influence at abortion facilities change Isabel's case? Can you explain the connection, if there is one, between this vote and Isabel's second arrest?
Well, the vote is a very concerning development, but it's separate from Isabel's arrest. Isabel has been arrested under an existing piece of legislation which criminalizes so-called antisocial behavior. And the authorities in many cities and towns around the United Kingdom have decided that praying in the vicinity of an abortion clinic is antisocial behavior. What Parliament has done has gone much further. It has decided now to create a national zone around every place where an abortion may be available, which prohibits the type of activity that falls under the definition of influencing. And we're still not clear as to what that means. And they rejected an amendment that certain members of Parliament put forward that would exclude from that definition silent prayer and consensual conversations between adults in a public place. So we're left with a situation now in England and Wales, and sadly we have other developments in Scotland and Northern Ireland, where consensual conversations between people outside abortion clinics or even in the vicinity of abortion clinics are a crime, or will be when the bill becomes law. And the existing laws that Isabel has been harassed under are designed to prevent antisocial behavior. But the authorities are behaving in an extremely abusive way, defining Isabel's totally legal activity, which is upheld by her human rights, defining those activities as a crime. So these developments taken together are deeply concerning for fundamental freedoms in the United Kingdom.
I think abusive is the perfect way to put it. Isabel, both times you were arrested, the police seemed pretty determined to catch you doing something wrong. The second time, they literally tried to tell you to stop thinking and praying. What's your reaction to that? And have any bystanders witnessed this and had any sort of reaction to it?
It is very concerning, yeah. So, I mean, I know some of the locals in the area are actually the ones that have phoned the police to tell them that I've been silently praying there. Well, at least that's what they believe, because obviously nobody can know what's going on inside my own head. But yeah, it does really concern me, and it does sort of beg the question of who's intimidating who now that I've been arrested twice when I've already been acquitted the first time. And particularly concerning since it's not even a freedom of speech issue. This is literally just my thoughts in my own head. I mean, the first time when I was arrested, I was quizzed as to what I was praying about when I was at the police station. That's what they wanted to know, which I felt was a real intrusion into my own privacy, my own thoughts that I was thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lorcan, I also want to ask you about the police who arrested Isabel twice now. Here in the United States, pro-life Americans are facing attacks from our own FBI and President Biden's government. Is this same weaponization against pro-life people happening in the UK, in your view?
I think it is. And I think we have to be realistic about what's triggered this. The Dobbs decision overturning the previous Roe versus Wade line of case law has had ramifications around Europe. We've seen a number of aggressive moves in different European countries to introduce these censorship zones. You've described what's happening with the FBI in the United States, which we're following with concern. And then we see what's happening in the United Kingdom as well, where the pro-abortion lobby has been energized to bring forward ever more restrictive laws into Parliament to essentially prevent the life-saving work that Isabel and others have been doing both in prayer and counselling outside abortion clinics. What it means, I think what Dobbs really has done is it has brought a counter reaction, and we shouldn't be surprised by that. I know you're talking later about other ballot initiatives that are going around the United States as well to bring in more abortion. This should be expected, and we did expect some degree of it, but what really struck us was the zeal and the aggression of the authorities as well, using existing laws and even introducing new laws to criminalize the type of totally peaceful and life-saving activity that Isabel and others have been engaged in perfectly legally in the United Kingdom for many, many years.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Isabel and Lorcan, we're so grateful that you joined us. Isabel, thank you for your courage.
Police have arrested and charged a pro-life supporter for silently praying near an abortion facility. Officers detained Isabel Vaughan Spruce after she admitted praying in the privacy of her own mind within a council-imposed censorship zone around a clinic in Birmingham. The clinic, run by one of Britain's largest abortion providers, the British Pregnancy Advisory Service, was closed at the time. Speaking to the Christian Institute, Miss Vaughan Spruce confirmed that she was not protesting, but rather praying for friends who had gone through terrible abortion experiences. With the prospect of censorship zones being imposed across the British Isles, she put her experience into context.
There's quite a few of them springing up around the country, imposed by local councils, and these are prohibiting not just protesting, not just harassment and intimidation, which of course are already prohibited and should be prohibited, not just outside abortion centres, but anywhere, but prohibiting things like prayer, counselling. And as we can see in my case, it's gone even further than this. It's not just vocal prayer or prayer that's manifested, but silent prayer inside my own head. So my own thoughts are now being censored.
Here's an amazing story. Isabel Vaughan Spruce is the leader of 40 Days for Life campaign in Birmingham, England. She's not a terrorist. She's the opposite. She's someone who prays a lot. Well, early this month, she was praying silently outside an abortion clinic in Birmingham. She wasn't yelling or carrying a sign or blocking a doorway or doing anything disruptive. She was just praying. Praying. Not to the government, to God. And that's not allowed anymore. So police approached her and arrested her and charged her with violating a public space protection order and committing, quote, antisocial behavior. And we're not making this up. It was caught on video. Here it is.
What are you here for today?
Physically, I'm just standing here.
Okay. Why here of all places? I know you don't live nearby.
But this is an abortion centre.
You praying?
I might be praying in my head out loud.
So I'll ask you once more, will you voluntarily come with us now to the police station for me to ask you some questions about today and other days where there are allegations that you've broken public spaces protection order?
If I've got a choice, then no.
Okay, well then you're under arrest on suspicion of failing to comply with the public spaces protection order.
Public Spaces Protection Order. Isabel Vaughan Spruce joins us tonight. Isabel, thank you so much for coming on. So
Thanks for having
this
me.
order is designed, the law is designed to protect public spaces from praying?
Well, maybe if I could give a bit of background to this. So for 20 years or around that, I've been going outside abortion centres and praying there and offering help to women. I know, well over 100 women who've accepted our help and continued their pregnancies. But in September this year, the local council in Birmingham brought in this censorship zone, this PSPO. Formerly, these were used for dog fouling and drunken behaviour and things like that, but they're now popping up around the country surrounding abortion centres, and they ban behaviour like protesting, but it also names prayer and counselling as forms of protesting. And so 4 times I went and stood near the closed abortion centre and silently prayed there. And as you can see, the police came and asked me if I was protesting, which I wasn't. They asked me if I was praying, and I said I might be silently praying. I was arrested, I was searched, I was locked in a cell, I was then interviewed or interrogated, however you'd like to see it, during which I was quizzed about what I was praying about. I was then released on bail and then subsequently charged on 4 counts of protesting and engaging in an act intimidating of service users. So I now stand on trial on February the 2nd, supported by ADF UK, really for freedom of thought. And the concern is here in England that national buffer zones are now being discussed. So there's a possibility of every abortion centre in this country having a similar zone around it. And obviously the implications of that are really concerning.
If you're arresting people for praying, you are committing an act of evil. It's not a close call at all. There's sort of no debate about that. And I would think that even secular people would recognize that. Did anybody, any prominent person, step forward to defend you?
I have had a lot of people who say they're pro-choice or that they support abortion, but they've also got concerns about this. And that in itself is very encouraging to hear. That it's not necessarily about people who support abortion or don't support abortion. This is more to do with freedom of thought here. It's even gone further than freedom of prayer. I mean, we all talk about the cancel culture and the concerns we have about people being cancelled, speaking and public, maybe public speaking engagements. But to be arresting somebody for what they're thinking, it's just gone even a step further. It's actually quite surreal. That's the word I'd use to describe it. I mean, the amount of people who've used the word Orwellian to me to describe this, likening it to the 1984 novel. And it's really seemed like that to me from start to finish. And I wish it's not over yet, but it's just quite a surreal experience.
Well, it's evil. It's an act of evil. Arresting someone for praying is an act of evil, period. And it just breaks your heart to think of all the people in charge, your prime minister on down, who are standing by and allowing this to happen. And I'm just so glad that you did this. I hope you'll continue to do it. That's a human right. They can't take it away from you. And I appreciate your telling us about it on this show. Isabel Vaughn Spruce, thank you.
Thank you so much in standing by us and saying that thought is not a crime and prayer is not a crime, nor should it ever be. So thank you for your prayers. God bless.
Adam, last November you were in front of an abortion